Well, there's a saying in marketing that the bigger your dreams, the more money you want to make, the more influence, the more impact, the more you should be publishing. But sometimes coming up with that content can be, day in and day out, can be absolutely exhausting. And that's where repurposing your content comes into play. And that's why I brought Jenn Neal, who is an absolute expert on this topic, to share with us today her top tips. So Jenn, thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Tanya.
Oh, pleasure. I love this whole concept of repurposing content. And it's something that I actually stumbled across back in the days when I was a journalist and a former publicist. And hey, guys, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tanya Target Camacho. I'm a former investigative news journalist and award-winning reporter turned video speaking and media strategist. And back in the days when I was working as a journalist and then as a publicist, if you were freelancing, Jenn, you'd get paid a really measly amount for one story. And so I had to learn how to make one story look like multiple stories. And that's exactly what we're talking about today in terms of taking some content and making it look like different content to get our message back in front of our existing audience, but also a new audience. Yeah?
Yep, exactly.
But there's a key to that too. And when I was, talking about having you join me here today, there's a rule of a 7 they talk about in marketing, that you need to get back in front of people time and time again so that they're ready to say yes. And that takes conservatively at least 7 touch points. So tell us where content repurposing comes into play with those 7 touch points and those 7 rules of marketing.
Absolutely. Great lead in. So yeah, I've heard it as 7 to 12 touch points. And I would honestly say that as everybody has gotten more used to considerably more information in the digital age, that touch point, I would be willing to bet, is actually higher now. We're finding that some people won't even engage until like 30, 40 kind of touch points later. So
totally agree. Yeah, but yeah, we'll get into that. But can you share a little bit about yourself? Because guys, Jenn seriously is an absolute ninja. Like, background, you've owned your own digital marketing agency. You also worked in marketing for a good 10 or 15 years, I think, before owning your own agency. And this is how you stumbled across this formula when you noticed what everyone else was doing that wasn't working and that what you were doing was. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, a little bit of my background, I started off I actually started off pre-med, and I was putting myself through college working as a graphic designer. So straight out of high school, I was working as a designer. And I decided that, that would be kind of fun. So I just kept doing that. So literally all I've ever done my entire professional career is worked for other businesses running marketing departments. And then I ran my own marketing agency for going on 14 years now. So what I did is I looked at all of the people that we've helped over the years, those that were really, really successful, what were the things that made them successful versus those that had not achieved the same level that they wanted. And what it always came down to was being seen, like showing up online and getting your content out there, consistent publishing, and consistent follow-up with automation. And me being, I swear I'm an efficiency expert. So I'm like, okay, how can we just do this once though and reuse it in a way that's still going to be fresh and meaningful and engaging and still reach new people? And I was at a conference and I saw Peng Joon. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him.
Yeah. And Jenn, can I just interrupt you briefly? Because I would love for you to be able to repurpose this video. Can you move across just a little bit more? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Repurpose.
I want you to be able to repurpose.
So much. I'm like bouncing all over. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And guys, I can see some of you joining us here live. Please drop any questions or comments. Give Jenn a big hurrah and cheer her on. Because seriously, what Jenn's going to be sharing here today, you can go and use in your business right now. So let us know if you're watching the live, if you're watching the replay, and where you are from, and keep those questions coming. So Jenn, yes, video guru you were talking about.
Video, yes, Peng Joon. So Peng is amazingly awesome. And one of the things that he says, and he has a whole repurposing system, but he's like, okay, you're going to take 2 weeks and you're going to record like 60 videos for 2 months worth, right? And
I did that program.
but it's overwhelming. I think it's completely overwhelming to think, oh my gosh, I got to sit down and record like 30 videos or something, right? So I got looking and I'm like, most of us as marketers, we have a show, we have a podcast, or we're doing Facebook Lives, just like you're doing right now. I'm like, we're already prepping content. We're already showing up prepped with good material. We're already doing that. So how do we reuse all of that? So I took Ping's system and I said, I want to repurpose the idea of taking this one live and turning it into 40 different social content posts. I'm like, how do I do that? So I totally dove in and figured it out. And we can go through those steps in a sec.
But I want you to, but I want to make sure everyone caught that. One video, turning it into 40 different pieces of content. That's like, you know, over a month. I mean, math is not my strong suit, Jen, but if you were posting every day, that's like 40 days worth of content, and even more if you don't post on the weekends. So that's, right. I just want to make sure everyone caught that, because that's huge.
Yeah, it really is. And that's like when you start thinking about how you can repurpose that content and you're not having to create it over and over, filling your social calendar becomes amazingly easy. And a lot of it happens in the process. And the very most important thing, and I really, really want everybody to take this to heart, because one of my very good friends has a gigantic, like multi-million social following. And she's like, you have to watch your numbers. Because if you think about this, if you think about how Instagram and Facebook and anybody else says, their algorithm says that, oh, this is spam. What is that line? What is the difference? So if you're posting things, and here's the biggest mistake that I see people with repurposing mistakes, is they take something that didn't resonate well in the beginning and they repurpose it. So if it didn't land well to begin with, and you're just putting it out there 40 more times, it's not going to do good. In fact, it's actually going to hurt.
So looking at the metrics before you go and deciding what to repurpose.
Yeah, you have to look at those initial metrics and see, okay, this one really, really landed, and start there. Because if you don't, then what happens, if you think about it, people are scrolling, and your content comes up 40 times because you've repurposed it, and they're just scrolling past it. The algorithm says, oh, this is spam content. We don't want to be spam content. We want to be catching people's attention. So I figured out the process. So there's kind of 3 steps in this. I'll like go from high level, and then we can dive down as much as you want.
Right.
So there's the process that you go through is super important. The steps that you go through in the correct order, in order to be able to get all of the content repurposing in a way that's going to work. Now you can see my dog in the frame. So.
I should have warned you I might go full screen, but we're all animal lovers here.
Yeah. Life.
This is for your content repurposes. Like, you don't have Tanya on your screen now. It's just Jen. Right? So this is great.
Right. Just Jen show. Yes. So the first thing is really starting with that process. You have to make sure that you're following along in a way that's going to be most efficient to grab the attention of Google, and to make sure that your design and your copywriting and everything is coming out how you want it. It's starting from your initial voice, but you get other people involved. You want to make sure that you follow the correct process so that you end up with stuff on the end that's still exactly what you wanted.
So quick question. How do we know what Google wants, though?
That's perfect question. So the best and easiest way is take content. So you're going to look at your initial metrics. You're going to go, okay, what show, what live, whatever really resonated. Where do I want to start with that? Then you're going to go Google search that content as if you were one of your customers, as if you were trying to figure out information on it. Google is going to give you a couple of really key pieces of information. For one thing, have you ever noticed if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page on Google, it gives you people also searched for, and then it gives you like 10 different topics underneath there.
Yeah, and it's crazy what some people search for. I love that. I love the Google suggested searches.
Yes. And here's the thing is that is so important to pay attention to, because that is what Google is saying. These are literally the words in this order that people have been looking for, topics that we think are similar to what you're searching for. It also can show you the search volume on that. And that's kind of next level. So, but you can look at that, and if you can find a way to work those terms with those exact words in those orders into the stuff that you're repurposing, then Google's going to see that and know, oh, this is what we're looking like. Oh, people are looking for this. Here's something where people are using exactly those same words, right? That's perfect. We want that. So you want to get those keywords. You also want to look in that top 10 search and see competition-wise, or coworker-wise, whatever, other people out there in the space talking about things. Go look at some of their information, and you will notice that 9 times out of 10, it's a blog or a very informative website that is showing up in that top 10 ranking. So we want to go look at some of those and find a couple of the listings that you can mostly agree with, right? Like, okay, yeah, this some good ideas. I like that, right? So you want to save those URLs. So we have now what Google wants, we have what competition wants, and we have what your audience wants based on the content that you've already taken. Now you take all of that information, your pre-recording, your transcript, your research, and you're going to give it to a writer. And you can hire a writer even on, like, there's so many different services, but generally for anywhere from like 30 to 60 bucks is what you're going to spend to have this repurposed. Now that writer, you're going to say, I want you to create me a 700 to 1,000 word blog, very simple. And it doesn't have to be a blog. You don't have to have a blog site. Don't freak out about having a blog, but what you do want is some sort of a page, article, something that is not just a sales page, that is actually really good, valuable information that's based off of what you presented. Now, we know a lot of times when we go live, we can have the best of intentions and you get in front of the camera and you're like, I forgot what I was going to talk about. Right? So you could miss some of the information. So that's why providing some of the other links and the Google research is really going to help. And my phone just picked up Google. So
are you saying, I think there's kind of two things going on here right now while you're talking about. There's, and I love how you were talking about Google, because all this information is free, right? So this information is just, yeah, like, don't go and do it right now, but like after this interview, you could literally go and get access to this information. But I think what you're also talking about, and let me know if I didn't get this quite right, but I think you're also talking about, you could have that standalone article on some kind of high value content page that's not necessarily a sales page, because you want to be sharing content, not selling, right?
Yes.
But you could also boost a video that you have done with that content underneath, so that if you did get like a bunny in front of headlights and, you know, or whatever, you just didn't happen to bring up something that was important, you could breathe some fresh life into it and tap into some extra Google SEO power by putting those links and a transcript or an article underneath. Is that what you're talking about, Jen?
It totally is. And you just jumped to like step 10, but I love it. That's exactly what we want to do.
This is just awesome. And I would love, guys, I see you watching. I'd love for you to share some comments. And Christina was just saying, she was like, Jen is awesome. Like, how awesome is Jen? Like, if you guys are not taking notes, or if you are just joining us now, I encourage you that once this replay is posted, go back and watch it and take notes, because this is just crazy. And the thing that I love about this too, Jen, is that I know, like, a kind of a next level, you can throw some ad spend behind this, but what you're talking about is organic leads and organic traffic and getting yourself out there organically. And I know a lot of people, you know, are scared about Facebook, and paid traffic, the algorithms and the budget spend. And so this is really doable no matter what level of business that you're at.
100%. Yeah. It absolutely is. And that, I'm gonna jump ahead just a little bit here. The thing about organic traffic is literally since the time that Google even came out, or like it used to be what, Alta Vista or like all these other different ones, right? But the entire point of these search engines is literally to find what information people are after and give them that good information. The internet was not designed necessarily to sell. It was to share information. And so there's always all of this talk about, oh, the Google algorithm has changed and the Facebook algorithm's changed and all this stuff. And it's like too much to think about. Every single time, the only thing that those algorithms are after is getting really good quality information in front of people that are looking for said information. It's really all it's about.
Awesome. So let's go back to your steps, because I did get a little bit ahead. You said I jumped to step 10. So let's go back. Can we do it? Could you do a quick summary for us? We had step 1, step 2, step 3.
So step number 1 is you're going to find out what of your content has resonated well, what performed well. Then you're going to do your Google research, your competition research, and you're going to give it to a writer who is going to produce for you this valuable content. Call it an article, call it a blog, call it whatever you want to put up there. But what we're doing, the focus of this is to give people really good information. And you're going to ask the writer, make sure when you do this that you're incorporating everything I talked about, as well as anything I missed based on these topics, and optimize it for these keywords, which is that people also searched for information on the bottom. And then you provide them with competition research as other things so that they can look at for reference. Anytime you are writing good, valuable information, having a link, as in like good reference articles, out to other competition or cohorts, whatever, similar products, anytime you can link out to those products and services, it's viewed as even better for Google, because they're like, oh, you're not just trying to keep information on your own page, you're trying to also share information.
That seems counterintuitive, right?
It totally does, yes. But what it does is it helps you perform better in the eyes of Google. So you want to have a link to some of your own stuff, which is, happily so, where we provide our calls to action. So I suggest including multiple different graphic, text, video calls to action throughout your article. When you typically go to a blog, there's like, go buy this product on Amazon, go do this, right? You're going to be promoting your own products, nobody else's. You're going to have your own calls to action inside of there. That's how you're going to grab people and get them on your list. Okay, so at the same time, your writer is going to give you, here's the information that Google needs to know. I'm optimizing for these keywords. And then you can also have your writer, and what we usually do is have the writer go through and pull out anywhere from 3 to 10, literally, amazing little sound bites. And I know you do this as well. I don't know what you call them. We used to call them quotes. People got confused about like thinking it had to be an exact quote. Really, I just want the hook. I want the sound bite, the grab you, things that just are really awesome.
Yeah, the sexy sound bites.
Yes, sexy sound bites. That's what we want.
I don't really have a sexy term for them other than sexy sound bites, but it's the sound bites. Like TV do this all the time, right? They tease you with the sexiest part of an interview. And so going through and finding those sound bites, I mean, both of us will be doing that with your interview. There's lots of sexy sound bites in here. My ears are just going ballistic.
I know, right? I know, it's so awesome. And it's fun because you'll start thinking them as you're saying them. You're like, oh, that's going to be a quote card.
Exactly.
So yeah, the writer can pull out kind of what some amazing sound bites are, or sometimes craft, a little bit based on the context. What we do is we also ask the writer, if you are referencing a certain place in the video, please include the timestamp. So they give us back a full article with all of our Google Juice optimization and a whole bunch of different sound bites and timestamps. So then we take all of that information, we give it to our video editor and to our graphic designer. So at the same time. So the video editor then goes through and creates juicy little video clips kind of based around the same sound bites. And our graphic designer does the same thing. So then we end up with, if you had 10 quotes, right there, you have 10 videos and 10 graphics that have come out of all of that. That's 30 reposting. We're using the same sound bites, yes, but in different forms of media. So far, like that's right up to 30 already. With me so far?
That's amazing. Yeah, totally with you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now here's one of the other things that we do. And
now, for those of you whose head's spinning, I know, Jenn, that you have done for you, and you teach people how to do this, as well as you teach teams. So you'll work with the business and then teach their team how to do it. So for those of you thinking this sounds awesome and I'm in tech overload, bear with us. In fact, what I'm going to do just quickly, Jenn has a free gift that's coming a little bit later, but I'm going to share it with you now, just so you can go and sign up for it, because I know, Jenn, you have a free training that's not quite ready yet. And so what I'd love for you guys to do is go and grab this free gift, because Jenn's actually got a free training coming up very soon, a live free training, and she's going to be going through this at a slower pace in more detail. So if you're currently thinking this sounds awesome and this will be for you. I know I'm going to be on it. I just love this. This is brilliant. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Speak to anyone currently in a meltdown. I'm with you. I hear you. And I do this myself. The content repurposing.
And just to prove that point, like, we have been testing this for over a year. We've been selling it just because people keep coming to us and saying, can you do this for me? Can you do this? So I've been selling the crap out of this, but we don't even have a sales page or anything put together yet. So at this point, go to that free gift and send me an email and just say, hey, I want to make sure I'm on the wait list, and I'll make sure you get all the good info.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And just while you're talking about that, because when you and I first started talking about this, one of the first things I asked you was results. What kind of results are you and your clients getting from using this repurposing strategy?
Oh, okay. So we'll get to a whole bunch of the results as we finish the rest of the steps.
Okay. Yeah.
But I will say that the organic traffic, actually, I'll just even our numbers ourselves, because ours is the last stuff to always get done, right? But we are seeing anywhere from, this is crazy, from a 300 to 800% or more increase in just organic search traffic coming to websites simply from doing this. And honestly, it only takes really 5-6 really good articles.
Wow.
And it does not take much. And the amazing thing about organic traffic and putting this good, valuable information out there is it just continues to grow.
300 to 800% increase. That's outstanding.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. Yeah.
And that's organic. That's not even putting any paid spend behind that.
Nope.
And what happens when you do put a little bit of paid traffic behind that?
Oh my gosh. So that's part of our steps we'll get to as well. But just to let you guys know,
you can tell I like the punchline.
I know.
Sorry, Jenn.
When you get to, no, don't be sorry. But that's the sexy part, because you can actually double the results of traffic that are coming to you with a little bit of paid boost. But the super sexy thing is that paid boost is half or less the cost that you would normally be spending with like an ad agency to send traffic. And it's warm traffic, because by the time they get to your offer, they already love you. And
I love that. So, all right. So let's get back to this process. There's 10. Did you say there's 10 steps?
Yes.
Or 3 steps, and we covered all 3.
Well, there's 3 parts. So the first 3 parts, we'll just stick with the simple 3 parts. The 3 parts are knowing your numbers and following that specific process, right? And then you're gonna go through in order, which we got mostly through the order. The other big hang up is really, you want to start always with your copy first, then do your video and your graphics, because they need to have direction of where to go, right? And then that has to come back to like one coordinating person, because the coordinating person, trust me, we've done this and failed a lot of times. The coordinating person has to keep really good track of your social calendar and what has been posted where and what is going to be posted where. Because at the end of this, when you end up with all of these tips and graphics and things, and you're going to have, I mean, we only talked about 30, there's plenty of ways that I incorporate a lot more, but you can have literally 40 posts from one live. Well, if you're doing more than one live a month, chances are, you're going to end up with a whole lot of moving pieces, and those things can also go on multiple different channels. So you really have to have a good system. Super pro tip. Love this pro tip. Because you're going to be following the same process every time. Here's what we do. We say, okay, here's our initial episode. Here's the date that it's going to air. Here is, we know we're going to have 10 quotes. We're going to have 10 videos. We're going to have 10 graphics. And so we just name them, video 1 through 10, whatever. And you can put all of that into a spreadsheet. You can actually tell the spreadsheet, okay, I want to post these out on Facebook 1 day apart or 2 days apart or whatever your posting pattern is. Does that make sense? So we drop all of that in to our spreadsheet, drop down the dates because it automatically calculates the days. It's just this day plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Grab all of those dates, put them into a Google Calendar, just import it in, and it'll show up in your Google Calendar then. You just created your content calendar without having to go repurpose, like manually put them all
Really
in.
think about it. Yeah, I love that. That's super quick. And I was going to ask you about that because I use a spreadsheet when we're slicing and dicing our videos, and that spreadsheet will have all the metrics too, like when that video was originally posted, how many likes, how much engagement, what was the playthrough, comments, that kind of thing. So we can also work out our top 10, top 20. And then also if we want to throw a little bit of money behind it, it makes sense identifying those key ones. When it comes to repurposing, where do most people go wrong with it? Like I think you talked a little bit before in that sometimes the content's not changed enough and it just looks like it's spam or that it's the same material or that they chose something that wasn't high performing. What some of the other things that can go wrong or common mistakes when it comes to content repurposing?
Honestly, you're taking one thing and turning it into many. And then you're taking those many things and publishing them on many different platforms. So if you think 1 to 40, and then you're going to post on, you've got your group, your Facebook page, LinkedIn. Do you do Instagram? Like, okay, so you've got, let's say 5 different channels that you're posting on, times 40. Is that 2,000? That's 2,000 posts you have to keep track of, which can become very overwhelming. So what happens is people like, oh, I'm going to repurpose. And then you dive in and you hit that point and you're like, this is so overwhelming. I don't even know what's where. You just give up. So like
that's trying to keep up with comments and engagement, I imagine, would be super hard. That would be like a full-time job.
Yep, it totally is. Yeah, trying to keep track of all that. And honestly, one of the biggest, the other big thing is not having a really strong foundational system. So the key when it comes to actual posting, and this is going to come tie back into our paid stuff. So when it comes to your posting, instead of, now you may have a really strong call to action that is talking about a specific program or product or whatever it is that you want to talk about, try to resist sending all of your traffic to that. Maybe 5 or 10% of your traffic can go straight to the sales pages. But the reason that you created that really good, valuable article, blog, whatever it is that we want to call it, that is Google juiced, is we're going to send our traffic to that page because that has your opt-ins, your calls to action on that page. So here's the deal. Any of the social platforms, their number one goal is to keep traffic on their platform, always. If they have to send it off, they don't want to send it to a sales page where you are going to take away money that they could be making on their platform. They want to send it to good, valuable information. So you send people to your article. It is cheaper to send people to your article because you don't have to do a conversion campaign. You don't have to send cold traffic. So here's this is going to get really techie, so I hope I don't blow your guys' minds, but I'll try to simplify it. So those video snippets that we talked about, the little chunks of videos, you're going to take those videos and you're going to set those up. So we talked about 10. So you'll have 10 different videos that you're going to post out there that are teasers. Those videos are going to go to your article as like a learn more, okay? So they're going to push through to your article. Now, you can boost, even if that's all you want to do, boost them for $1 a day from each of those video snippets. So you're in 10 bucks. You're going to send so much traffic. You can send traffic for literally pennies on $1 versus your normal cold ads that you're going to do are anywhere from 20 to $100 a lead, right? We're going to be sending people to your article for literally pennies. They're going to go and read more information. And my biggest pro tip is always include a story, include a personal story, because people are going to read that and get to know you and feel like they know you. So you're already warming them up on your article, okay? On your article page, you are going to have your pixels for Facebook and for Google. And so those pixels, those, especially Google, is seeing that there's a lot of traffic going to this page. Like, oh, it must be really good, valuable information. So we're going to raise them up in your Google juice value, your SEO value, right? And so it raises your organic reach simply by doing a little bit of paid push. Now, because you have a raised organic reach and they're used to seeing that you have more traffic going there, it's actually cheaper. The algorithm is like, oh, this is good information. We're going to send more people there for cheaper. So it becomes cheaper to continue sending in there. So it's just this feeding loop.
Because your relevance score increases,
yes.
And the more relevant you are, the cheaper. I was going to ask you if you are using pixels, and I guess also a next level ninja thing, just in case there's not enough tech overwhelm, could be to heat map that page so you can see.
Totally.
Yeah, so you can see where people are spending the most time. Are they even getting to your links, and where are they dropping off?
Yep, exactly.
Who's a total tech nerd here and is loving all this tech talk, and who's like, Tanya, Jen, can you just slow down on the tech?
I know. But honestly, the best part and the way to close that loop is you push the paid traffic behind it and you lead from those videos, put up the quote cards, and all of those things are going to drive to your article. Now, where you're going to set up real true ads are you're going to set up some retargeting ads. Now, for anybody that's never done retargeting ads, they are on the Facebook platform and you can do them with Google as well. They are not that difficult and they are mostly a set it and forget it. Mostly you can tee people up to drop off of your retargeting ads after like 2 or 3 weeks. And all you're going to do is just lead them through your value ladder. But those just become anybody who hits your pixel gets served up those ads, right? They don't go through, they're going to fall out of the retargeting ad, and then you'll catch them again on the next time that they click through one of the videos and read an article. So that's how we're able to drop the paid traffic cost so much, is because we're using the retargeting. And then you follow up finally by looking back at your numbers again. You have to look at what are the so you know if your videos are performing better or quotes are performing better, which articles are performing better. If you have an article that is performing amazingly well, turn it into a bigger article. Instead of having your writer write a new one, say, hey, you know what? We're going to make this the ultimate guide. So I want this to include everything, right? That's just going to keep raising your scores for everything. And that process can just continue to repeat and repeat and repeat.
I love that. And I love how what you were talking about in terms of going back and having a look at what's performing. I was actually going to ask you, and I know it's different for different businesses. And when I track this myself, it surprises me which of my stuff does better. Like some of the stuff that I think, oh, that'll do really well, and it really doesn't. And I'm like, no, I'm not really sure about that. And then it does really well.
Yep.
From all of your content repurposing for your audiences, what do you find performs better? Is it video, blog posts, quotes? Like, what are you finding is the trend in your business?
We are finding video honestly performs the best for ours. So much so that we have actually taken our video into, we're doing a lot of reels on Instagram. We're doing videos incorporated into stories because we're seeing a lot of traction from there. And it kills me to say this, but we're getting ready to start a TikTok channel as well. So
why does it kill you? I have a 17-year-old. I love TikTok. There's some hilarious stuff on there.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know, on another platform, but that's literally the same thing as, my social manager is like, we need to be on TikTok. And I'm like, okay, how can we be on there without me having to create any more content? Like, what are we already producing that we can use for that? So that's what we're working through right now.
What about SlideShare? When I was doing some research before we were getting together, I saw the different ideas for repurposing content. And I know as a speaker and as a presenter, I often share my slides, but I hadn't thought about doing that outside of that presentation. Have you tried that? What are your thoughts on that?
I've used it a lot. We have not tried repurposing out onto SlideShare, although that is a great idea. But in the past, I have found that largely it seems like it's more of the corporate or bigger business departments that are finding stuff on SlideShare. So if that is your target, by all means, I think that would be perfect. Now, I also haven't tried it recently, so let's hope my social media manager isn't watching this video.
I will make sure they will. No, I'm just joking. And then also, Jenn, I mean, we're talking about content repurposing and having a high value article. I think also sometimes people forget if they have an online program or they have a program, you could pull some of the content from that program that you already have as a teaser, which also solves that content creation solution of, well, what should I do now? What should I do now? And I talk about creating a video vol. I talk about, because I also, like, for my business, videos work really well. Anything under 90 seconds, actually. Like, we've played with different length videos. So that's always really interesting too. And so going through and literally documenting everything where you've ever delivered any content, and you'll find this amazing, surplus of content that you can go back to. And it's what's interesting too is when you do look at those Google search words, I'm often surprised, like when I was Googling, doing some research about content repurposing with you, this article from 2014 kept coming up. And I'm like, I don't want an article from 2014 because that's really old, but it just goes to show you how valuable that article was. That it kept popping up like 7 years later.
Yeah.
Front page of Google.
Oh, totally. And honestly, if you look at, I mean, I follow a lot of Neil Patel and stuff like that, just because like he's
Love Neil. Yeah.
Right? But his articles, he'll have like the top whatever tips for 2021. Well, guess what? It's the same article that's been up there since probably 2014 or earlier. All he does is every year they just go in and update a little bit of it. So now it has a new publish date. You're not rewriting the whole thing. You're just...
Ryan Dice does that too. Yeah. Ryan Dice and Digital Market, they do that too. They digital marketing. I attended a thing that he was talking at, and this was a few years ago actually. And he would say, we just, anything that's been very popular, we have another look at it and we go, oh, what could we redo to get people coming back to this page, but just to change it slightly, to make it relevant, and also keep it on that page, but change the publish date, change the date so it looks like it's more relevant. Well, speaking of tips, so I know you've been so generous with your time, and I know you have some awesome tips for everybody here. If you're loving what Jenn just shared and you would love more like me, and as I mentioned, Jenn has is it a masterclass, Jenn, you have coming up, or a webinar that you're putting together? Can you tell us a little bit about that, and also that by going and grabbing this free gift that they can get on the early bird waiting list for that, because I believe it's free, or am I giving them a free ticket, or what am I doing?
Yeah, it is completely free. Yes. Yep. So I do have a masterclass coming up in July, and I'll be going through these steps and providing a workbook kind of thing so that you actually have something to kind of follow along. And that will be leading into our program, which is a 6-week program designed for us to actually train your team. Even if your team is literally just your VA, but you're like, I'm already producing content. I just need somebody to take it and get it out there. That's what we're doing, is taking and training your team to do that, or we do it for you. And this gift right here is a fantastic example. I'm really weird. I wanted to prove the concept of content repurposing. And so I started our podcast because I knew all I wanted to do was repurpose that content. And so that's what we worked on. And for every episode, I told a very personal story and I bridged that into the content. And then I also included a sort of a Cliff's Notes top tips version of like, here's the key takeaways from each episode. So we have published 100 episodes, and I went back and said, what are the top 10 most popular episodes? And I created this top 10 repurposing guide from those episodes. So you get each of those tips, the stories, and links to the YouTube and the blog post on this. So
what a gift. So you were doing Blink before Blink did Blink.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
Fantastic. So look, Jenn, thank you so much for joining us here today. And I know we'll continue the conversation. Would love to have you back on when you're getting closer to doing your webinar too, because I think there'll be huge value in that, guys. Go and get go and be able to consume 100 podcasts just from this a free gift that Jenn has there for you, and get on her early bird waiting list for a free webinar that's going to be complete with a workbook. Awesome. Jenn, thank you so much. And guys, take care wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you same time next week.
Awesome. Thanks for hanging in there, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.